Welcome to Hat-Trick City on WXCI 91.7, Danbury's only all-hockey radio show.
I know that some in our audience don't know the finer points of hockey.
You want me to dummy you again?
Hat-tricks, baby! Woohoo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hat-Trick City. I'm your host, DJ Patty Cake, as always joined by DJ Uncle Matt here in the WXCI studios. And we're back for yet another episode this week, episode 40. Real quick, just wanted to apologize about last week. With the off week, I wasn't really feeling too well all week. I was pretty under the weather. My voice was kind of shot for most of, if not the entire week. So I kind of wanted to rest up a little bit to give you guys a good episode, because I know an episode where I'd be barely, audible wouldn't be really fun to listen to. So figured I'd take the week to just kind of get my voice back, and it's back now. So I'm going to kind of recap over the past 2 weekends, I guess, technically is what you would call it. So we'll go through that. Starting with obviously the big one, the 2-game set here in Danbury against Motor City. It was interesting for a few reasons. The biggest one we'll get to in a second. That first night, tough loss, 5-4, believe in OT. So obviously, we still got the point, but it's still a rough loss. Either way, you split it. But came back the next night with more of a vengeance, I'd felt. And we won that one 5-3 in regulation. So came out with 3 points on the weekend. But obviously the most, big part of that people take away from that weekend was the Amesbury hit, as it might be called, and then him getting placed on an 18-game suspension. Honestly, if we're going to give opinions on the hit and how it was handled, I don't think it should have been that long of a suspension. I really don't think there should have been a suspension at all. I want to hear your take on this, though, Matt.
I was actually a little bit in an elevated position over in TK's corner when it happened. I did get a pretty clear view of it, and I was able to kind of watch it on the phone of one of the players' fiancés and another family member. And again, I don't think malicious intent was really there. It was a hit that ended up getting finished high. Yeah. More of a snuff than an actual bash or like a hard check. It didn't register to me with the type of speed or kind of power that you would put into something that was kind of delivered with bad intentions. But that said, now we're kind of sped forward, basically a couple of weeks, not really, but basically 10 days from that or whatever. But there was a similar incident now. I believe that was in Mississippi versus. Oh yeah,
it was versus Columbus.
Columbus. Similar incident where, what was that guy's name? Nathan.
I think it was Blake. Well, I'll check that just to double check. But
incident there, just another very scary incident. That was another one where the camera didn't seem to get the most perfect view of what happened. But I can tell you that it also didn't seem to be happening with the speed that you generally associate something that had been.
Balkwell.
Nathan Balkwell, right?
Mm-hmm.
We send out our thoughts and our hope for a speedy recovery to him and his family, and I hope he's doing okay, as we do to Danny Vanderweel, who played with Motor City. He definitely plays with a lot of grit. I played with Binghamton their first season. We saw him all the time. Hoping that both of those guys get out of the kind of physical binds they've been in and return to the ice. But what I could tell you there is, this is a funny game and funny things happen. We totally saw that with the Adam Johnson incident. There's a lot of opinions about what happened there. I don't think we need to speak even on that. But if you just go online enough, you'll see many different viewpoints and different things like that. I've always, I can't compare anything that these guys do to the absolute bottom level of beer league hockey. Like I play in it, I'm the type of guy, I go on the side of caution. I'm only a public employee, and I don't necessarily have 5-star health care. So it's like, I'm a mouthpiece guy. I've had some problems with my feet over the years. I've had some like bone bruising and things like that. And, I've started to wear blockers and stuff like that. It's just to be honest, I'm just not willing to risk it at this point. Any little thing, you see these guys playing full contact hockey. It is a world away from any kind of beer league crap. So once you see an injury like that, you realize that it's a game that's so totally different, at that level with that type of power behind guys. And like I said, neither of those hits, neither the one in the Danbury game or the one in the Columbus game, neither of them looked like they were really aiming to hurt anybody. It just looked like it was a little extra rough stuff in the first thing, but nothing totally out of the ordinary, nothing. And then in the second one, it just looked like a very awkward drop to the ice. And he looked like he also had a seizure, which was Nathan Balkwell. So, again, my take on it was that these are unfortunate incidents. It's really dangerous to play the sport. But we also saw, I think Brandon, what's his name, Yates from Binghamton did something that he probably should have gotten suspended 10 games for, or something like that. Something pretty gutless move by that guy. But, it's all over the internet now, and people are going to say what they want about it. What was your take, Pat?
Honestly, I agree with the points you just made there. I really, looking back at the tape, I didn't really see any type of malicious intent. Again, kind of remind me of a few years ago when I started working in Danbury. I worked one of the Knoll games. They played against Maryland. Yeah, that one. You know the one I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. The hit was going to be made there, and it was just the person that was going to be hit kind of peeled away. Weird. At least on the Knoll one, he peeled away, and that hitter just went right into the wall. But with this, it was more. I think he tried to move away from it like last second, and it didn't kind of work well in his favor, as opposed to just taking the hit anyway. Because if he took the hit, he probably would have just been down for a second, just like a little bit of the wind knocked out. But if anything, I would say it's more or less that. But I don't know if I agree with 18 games.
Yeah, ridiculous. I mean, there just seem to be, they've had the eye out for Amesbury. Again, it just doesn't seem in line with the intent there. I don't think we need to talk about this. This was already a couple weeks ago, but listen, it doesn't seem in line with the guy's intent. That guy has beat the crap out of so many guys in this league. He has done things that may have, I don't know if he ever really crossed the line, but maybe he's toted the line a few times. At the end of the day, that was probably one of the softest kind of hits he did. I'll be honest with you. It just didn't, it wasn't it wasn't a moment where he was acting with any extra aggression. It was just a run of the mill hit. Maybe he should have got 4 or 6 games, just because of the consequences there and the aesthetics for the league.
Yeah.
Say, hey, listen, that type of stuff happens. You look like you hit the guy a little high at the end there. We got to suspend you. 18 games is ridiculous. You're taking absolutely one of the most marketable guys out of the league. In favor of what? It was a bad hit, very, very bad incident. I was with Daniel Amesbury immediately after it happened, and again, this guy's one of the most human guys I know. He visibly upset, didn't want any ill will for Danny Vanderweel.
Yeah. At
the end of the day, I don't think that's taken into account. I think that they just had it out for him, and they're making another example of him. And again, when Daniel Amesbury plays games in the Federal Prospects Hockey League, the Federal Prospects Hockey League videos go around the internet, they go around Instagram, that people are curious about the league. When he's not in the league, they're just not as curious about it. And that's, anybody who's been in this league, I invite them to come on the show and debate that. If you've been in this league as long as I have, you can come here and debate me on that. When he plays, every fan in this league is interested in seeing what's going on in Danbury. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah, so following weekend, only had one game on the weekend in total. It was a home game against the Watertown Wolves. Quite a game, I have to say. I mean, it went out into a shootout, and, we were just able to make the first two shots, and Watertown missed both. So it was, it was just the perfect game, perfect way to end it, right there in that shootout. But like you'll hear with our guest, Conor McCollum, I mean, that guy was on his head that whole game, it felt. I mean, just the back and forthness of it and how it ended up in that shootout was wild. I mean, this was definitely, like he mentioned, kind of more of a game for the fans, if you will, just having that kind of tenseness at the end of, what's going to happen and how it could go in a shootout. But, I mean, the boys pulled it through. Cunningham got pretty much the game winner on that shootout. Then Harwell sent it home, and we got that W, and that's really all that matters out of that weekend, at least. But again, a terrific game for the fans and to watch. So, hopefully we won't see too many of those, going forward, because it does feel like it's been a lot of those lately, which haven't gone in our favor. So, but either way, every once in a while is fine, I think. Just sprinkle it in just a little bit every now and then. But speaking of New York, the boys will be going on the road this weekend. Be playing two different teams in New York. They'll be playing the Binghamton Black Bears, I believe. I think it's on Friday. Yep, Friday the 15th, and then they'll be playing the Elmira River Sharks on Saturday the 16th. So again, Matt's always mentioned this with travel, though those games are always rough, especially a 2-game set like that with those two places. I mean, given at least they're 30 minutes, apart, so it won't be too bad the next day. But I feel that first game it's going to be a little bit, because 3.5-hour ride,
Well, we're seeing a lot of things at play right now. Again, this imbalanced schedule has the Hat-Tricks on the road in two different places, or at home against two different teams sometimes. And it has gotten a little bit tricky. But I guess, again, if you're looking at the Empire Division right now, obviously Binghamton's in first place, running pretty strong with 38 points, and Motor City is right behind them. Somebody said that Motor City hadn't lost in regulation until we beat them. Is that true?
Yes.
But now they have 4 losses total.
Yeah,
looking at the standing,
3 overtime losses. Yes.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing now, I guess. If you weren't really paying attention, and I'll admit maybe I wasn't early on in the season, but if you were paying attention to the divisional divide here, if you will, Motor City is now a player in this division.
Yeah.
We're not dealing. If you had Whiteville. Or if they're the Blue Ridge Bobcats or Whiteville, I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I just call them Blue Ridge. It's easier.
They're playing about identical to Elmira, who they're 2-10 with 2 in overtime. Yeah. Okay. So they got I guess 2 OT wins.
Yeah.
And then Elmira's 2-9 with no OT win. Oh, they got 1 OT win. I don't know. This thing's a little weird.
Yeah, it's set up weird on the site.
So at the end of the day, if the Blue Ridge Bobcats were in our division again, we'd have 2 teams that are tied with 2 wins.
Yeah,
look like basically. Well, actually, Blue Ridge has a couple more points than Elmira does. So again, it changes things. It makes it way more competitive. It's actually crazy to look at the Continental Division of this league. You have Carolina, you have Columbus in first, Carolina in second, Port Huron, Michigan in third, and then Mississippi, a team in Virginia, and the Baton Rouge, Zydeco in Louisiana. There was some talk on Facebook this week about people talking about how crazy it is that the FPHL is thinking about Texas. No, it's not.
No,
not crazy
I don't
at
think
all.
It's crazy at all. No,
it's because Beaumont, Texas, is right there in line with Baton Rouge and Biloxi, Mississippi. So they're right on the highway there.
Yeah,
So at the end of the day, it makes sense to me. If you're in Louisiana, you could be in Texas. Again, we talk about it all the time on the show. It's eventually there needs to be more teams closer to Danbury, it's interesting that we have technically a divisional rival in Michigan right now, and and then 3 upstate New York teams. So just going to be very interesting coming up this weekend. Again, you're going in to play a hot Binghamton team, and then again a cold Elmira team. So it'd be great to steal that Friday night win on the road, make an impression right now, especially around the holidays. It's good to get the energy and the morale up of the fans. So I'm really wishing for the best. And then, just want to take a quick second to pay my respects, and on behalf of Hat Trick City, to a referee from New York City, a guy that refereed a bunch of my beer league games. He had a lot of stories. It would be hard for me to tell you with accuracy the details of his life, but I can tell you his name was Jack Vanasco, and he was a legendary ref in Brooklyn. I wouldn't be surprised if he reffed a game in the Fed back in the early days, just being that he was around Aviator so often. He was a really tough customer, a great ref, a nice guy. I posted some pictures of him on my Taking Back Hockey account. Jack had played some local junior. It was confirmed at least by at least one other source I know. Jack had played some local junior hockey around New York, and eventually played at Wagner College on Staten Island. And I'm pretty, with some accuracy, I can say there was some mention of him in the hockey news back in the 70s for playing college hockey at Wagner, which was kind of interesting. It's a small college in Staten Island. I think, mostly known for basketball. I think they had football for years. I think they may still have it. But ultimately, Jack Vanasco, great ref, just an absolute character of New York City hockey. He would have been great in Section 102 or, in the Animal House with all those great fans. So at the end of the day, I just want to say rest in peace, Jack Vanasco. You're a great ref. And there was some talk that he actually played in some kind of early preseason exhibition games or some rookie camp games for the Rangers back in the 70s. And, so he definitely had a big life in hockey. I know he refereed a bunch of games. So rest in peace, Jack.
Rest in peace to Jack Vanasco. And, even just to mention him, kind of let's dedicate the episode to him. Why not?
Dedicate this episode to Jack Vanasco from Brooklyn, a fantastic ref, a great guy. This guy, one thing in Danbury, I think it's a really beautiful thing is that everybody that's involved with hockey respects other people in hockey. And this is somebody that I know he wasn't a part of Danbury hockey, but I know that everybody around there would have respected this guy. He went to work late into the night refereeing games, and he was an old school hockey guy. He used to borrow my spare stick and go stick handling while we were warming up and stuff. He just loved the game. So this episode is dedicated to Jack Vanasco. Thanks, Pat.
Of course, and without further ado, here's our interview with Conor McCollum.
This is Daniel Amesbury, your Ice Wars champion and Danbury Hat Trick's tough guy. You're listening to Hat Trick City Radio on 91.7 WXCI Danbury.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of Hat Trick City. I'm your host, DJ Pattycake, as always joined by DJ Uncle Matt. And today in the studio, we got a new member of the Hat Tricks, the one who's always behind the pipes, it seems, Conor McCollum. Conor, how are we doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
He's between the pipes.
He's between
behind. Between those pipes. Conor, it's good to have you here today. It's we're a couple of days now before a weekend of 2 road games. One in, I guess we're in
Binghamton and Elmira.
And then Elmira. And you're here with us today. Hey, you're probably the first guy we've had, I think, in a while to kind of come straight from Canadian college hockey. We don't typically have. I think Nosey was playing a little Canadian college hockey before he came here, really briefly. But what's the transition been like here, to the Fed from kind of, Canadian college hockey is pretty competitive. It often involves a lot of guys who played high juniors and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very different. I think I was saying this in another different interview that the biggest difference now is that it's pro hockey, it's a business. Like, you have guys that you've made friends with at Acadia, you make friends with 4 years, and you grow like into brotherhood and stuff like that. You make that similar kind of friendship, and they might not be there the next week or anything like that. Like, it's a very business-like situation. The hockey is just as good. A lot more physical, a lot more chippier in the Fed for sure. Yeah.
One of the things about Canadian college sports that I don't think most Americans know. I actually found out at an early age because a guy from my neighborhood's brother was very involved in basketball in Canada. But Canadian athletes can go back to school after they've turned pro. Unlike every sport in the United States, where your professional. Your amateur eligibility is compromised once you play in any type of professional camp or game like that. You're no longer considered an amateur. I think you can do in the NBA. I think you can do pre-draft workouts and stuff like that now, and I think you can stay in the draft the whole way and not get picked. I think the rules used to be very strict in that regard. But you have that opportunity. So you probably had some older teammates who might have played pro hockey, right?
Not teammates, but my last year when I was playing at Acadia, we had a guy in UPI who was like in his 30s, and like
wow.
They were hosting the Nationals, so he came back and stuff like that. And like he's a bigger boy too, and he tried to bully people around and stuff. So it's very interesting. But
I think it was I don't know if you younger guys know the story of Mike Danton, who played in the NHL, and there was like some situation between him and his agent and his family, and there's ultimately he ended up doing some jail time. I think he was going to assassinate. The plan was to either kill his agent or kill his dad. It's a what's that big Canadian documentary series that's on TV at Fifth Estate? There's a big Fifth Estate documentary about it where you see kind of the story there. But he was able to go to St. Mary's. I think that's in Halifax.
Yeah.
While I don't want to say that that's where he went. Pat, you might want to check that. Mike Danton.
I think he coached the Valley when I was in South Shore, actually.
Really?
So we were giving him a couple chirps, and we had to watch out what we were saying. That's for sure.
Well, let's say Mike Danton, NHL guy.
Yeah, I think he threatened his agent or something like that. Or I don't want to.
He threatened. Yeah, he was trying to put a hit on his agent or his family, somebody in his family, and ultimately, I think So he played. Let's see how many games. He played less than 100 NHL games, but he played overseas after that, and then he returned. Let's take a look. Yeah, St. Mary's. So that's in Halifax. Yeah.
I don't know what I can say on this thing, but St. Mary's has done some of that stuff. Like last year, they had one of their goalies that came in. He's my age, but he's a first year.
Wow.
And he did some stuff. He got charged when he was in the AHL or something, and he came down, and he's in St. Mary's now. So
that's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting in the flexibility, because some of the stuff here in the States, I think I was talking about this. I don't know if I mentioned it last semester. I'm not gonna say the student by name because everybody's academic stuff is. But we had a great athlete here who was nationally recognized, and just kind of a sad situation when he's got school he could finish, and there's no eligibility for him. So he's run out of his eligibility, but he still could have a whole other year. I don't think you should have 6 years, but I think the average student does get done in 5, and I think you should have 5 years of eligibility. It would keep students in the classroom. It would keep people enrolled. It would help the colleges, and it would also help the students who want to play and finish their degree. But, if you get that professional opportunity in any sport, I don't know. If you have to pay for school, you figure, hey, I could do it whenever. Maybe. What did you study when you were in school?
My first, I got 2 degrees actually. So my first degree was sociology, and then that was for 4 years. And then I took a 16-month program with the captain at Acadia for education. So I graduated with an education degree. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So we're looking at your elite prospects here just a little bit, and it looks like after you began attending college, you didn't really get on the ice for a few seasons.
No.
So how does that work for a guy like you? And how does a guy like you who wants to continue, how do you get reps? Like, what do you play beer league? What do you do?
No, it was tough for the first few years for sure when I wasn't playing and stuff, but I knew what I was signing up for. I had a lot of D3 offers to be number one and stuff, but like for money wise, for opportunity wise, and for school, like Acadia was my go-to, and I like loved it. People related it to like it's the BU of Canadian like universities and stuff like that for hockey, and my mindset was okay. I'm going in with one guy who's a year older. If it takes me 3 years to prove that I can play on this team, it's going to take me 3 years. And then finally I got my opportunity, and I didn't want to shy away from it. And yeah.
So all those years, you really didn't see any action?
No, but the teammates were so good in that locker room, and they really believed that I could be able to play and jump in whenever I had that. So when I did get that opportunity to have that support from my teammates and stuff, like I knew I wasn't going to fail.
Did you get to play in any like exhibition games or scrimmage games or
scrimmages? Yes. Exhibition, no. It was I was just waiting for my opportunity. It was kind of tough, but at the end of the day, everything works out. Right?
I don't even know if that's a real thing. Like, are there preseason exhibition scrimmages?
So, we have like captain skates and stuff like that, and like we would broadcast those and we play against each other, and like we do play exhibition games against other schools and stuff like that. So,
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so, once you get in that opportunity, what's your league like out there? Who are the other schools in that? What does the AUS stand for?
Atlantic University Sports
System. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. The teams, the big ones are UNB, where like
is University of Ottawa in that?
That would be Ontario. So like it's kind of like the OHL, Q, and W.
It's kind of regionalized.
So it is, and then we have like one big like Memorial Cup. We call it like it's just like nationals basically. So like in my side, University of New Brunswick's kind of like always the big one. They're always number one in Canada. Usually like every player would end up in like the East Coast or like the AHL and stuff, and then. The other big popular one would be Santa Fex, and that's our big rivals.
Yeah, it's the St. Francis Xavier, right?
So so like our school and Santa Fex were like if you think of Santa Fex, you think of Acadia kind of thing, but like nobody really like outside of Nova Scotia, you wouldn't really hear about Acadia. You think of Santa Fex, but
when the coach comes to your house to recruit you or comes to your games, however it works, they Zoom with you today. I don't even know how the hell it works. But I mean, when you make that contact with a coach, and the coach says to you, "Hey, I really want you at Acadia, Connor, but here's the thing: I don't see you seeing." Does he tell you flat out, "I see you competing," or "I don't see you seeing the ice for 3 years"? That's
what it was. It was you're probably going to be a practice guy, and like they didn't even think I would be in, kind of thing. But like I knew in myself, I believed that I could play with these guys, and that was my sole belief. And again, I say everything happens for a reason, and it did so. And I got that opportunity to play, and I really jumped on it. So,
why don't you tell us how you got here to Danbury?
So after Acadia, I had a few guys that were in Huntsville for the Havoc, and that was one of the teams that were interested in me afterwards. And I got to go down there, and actually I was competing with Brian Wilson, who was in Danbury last year and stuff like that. And it was a great couple weeks, and then they had one guy coming down from the coast that they liked, and then it's a business, obviously, and I didn't make the cut. I'm good buddies with Brian too, so like I would grow up with him and everything, so I'm like really happy for him. So he ended up being in Huntsville, but there was a spot open in Danbury. Probably 2 minutes after I got released, I was walking out of like the room for Huntsville, and Billy's already calling me saying that like they need a goalie and
that's
stuff
awesome.
like that. So
that's a good sign.
Yeah,
hey.
and then right after that, I texted Brian. I was like, okay, so what did you think of Danbury? And like, he spoke so highly of it that I couldn't say no, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I loved it ever since.
Yeah.
So
what's your hometown like?
Pickering. It's 40 minutes outside of Toronto. I usually stay in the summers and everything in Halifax. I have a girlfriend out there and stuff now. So every time I go down to Pickering, everything's like being renovated, bigger buildings, starting to look more like Toronto, like more people. It's a lot different, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's obviously for the two of us dopes here, we've never really been north of Boston, so it's like what's Halifax like in comparison to the image that we see of it in the Goon movies?
Oh, Halifax. I think relating Halifax to like a place in the States, we always relate it to Maine. I like everyone that goes down to Maine, they're like, it's just like another Halifax, but you got a big downtown city that's on the ocean, and that's all you can ask for. It's really fun.
Wow,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. It looked kind of sketchy in the Goon movie.
It does seem, yeah.
It seems like the South Bronx of Canada or something like
beautiful.
that. You know. So tell us, did you when you were growing up out there, were you strictly a goalie the whole time? Did you play out on the ice or no?
I think I was like 3 years old, and I tried skating and like being a player, and I wasn't bad, but like I was definitely a better goalie. And the other thing is that I was the only one on the team that actually liked being a goalie, because when you were taking turns and all that stuff, I was just like, yeah, I'll do it.
Oh yeah,
so,
I rember taking turns.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible.
So I was the only one that was really like happy to do it, and I was probably the best goalie on the team. So they were just like, you know what, you stay in.
Exactly.
There, you know? So
I was like 110 pounds, and we're playing roller hockey. These dudes are just too. We had like a roller hockey team one year where like the age group was like 3 years. So it was just like these dudes that are like 15 when I'm like a 100-pound 13-year-old just firing the puck as hard as they can, you know what I mean, at me and stuff like that. I lasted about, I want to say about 30 seconds in practice playing goalie. Yeah, not for me.
No.
Oh my goodness.
I was kind of the opposite.
Yeah, huh? Yeah. So take us through just like I know you got here from being down south, but I mean, what was that process like you in the spring of your college? Were you done with your degree by the time the season was wrapping up? Were you done with school, and were you communicating with teams?
Yeah, I was in my 6-month program, so it started in May and it actually ended at like beginning of August. So I was still in school when all that process was going on. I'd be like walking out of class because coaches are calling and stuff like that.
So basically, it was extra 6 months after school ended.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's like there's no breaks or anything like that. Full 16, because you can choose between 16 or 2 year. And you have like a summer off kind of thing. But yeah, it was, and then right after school and I graduated, I was basically packing to go down to the town south. Yeah, in pro hockey.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, did you have brothers and sisters? Or your father play hockey?
No, my dad did a little bit. Played football a little bit. But like he's a big time Ottawa Senators fan, so I was very like into hockey like at a very young age and stuff like that. We'd be watching games all the time.
Is that who you go for? You go for the Senators?
Yeah, so they were born and raised in Ottawa. My parents they moved down to Toronto for jobs and stuff, and I just had that one rule of you can cheer for anybody, but you can't cheer for the Leafs. So
wow! So
I was kind of raised to be the Sens fan.
Wow! So you had some good goalies there through the years, like, here and there. Tell me a little bit about. Just, something that I'm curious about is, we love our hockey right here in Danbury, Connecticut, and it's great to have the Hat Tricks goalie Conor McCollum on the show today. But, in Canada, is it really as hockey crazy as people think? Like, does everybody play? Like, even your neighbors that didn't play competitively, did they go skate around sometimes?
Oh, yeah. Especially when I was younger, too. And it's kind of sad to see not so much, but like when I was younger and you're going around every street, like playing road hockey, and like even when it's the hottest summer, like you're outside, you're playing hockey, like there's, I don't know, like everyone loves it. Even if you don't play it, you still like know a little bit about it.
You said that you knew Brian Wilson a little bit before this, I guess, but how many guys maybe that you grew up with or competed with in either college or I guess the pre-junior years and stuff like that are in the Fed now? Do you know a lot of guys around the league just from your home area?
Not so much the Fed, but like definitely like in the SP out there, East Coast. I got a lot of buddies, and that kind of like those two leagues. So I see like, and I follow a lot of them, and they're doing well up there and stuff. The Fed, no. But I'm kind of making new friends, definitely when you're playing 17 games against bingo and stuff like that, and you're cheering each other. So
that's awesome. What I wanted to ask you is we hear a lot. It's something that came up. I don't know where on one of the chats or one of the Facebook kind of groups was somebody was talking about the different ice around the league. I forget where it was, but this might be like such a stupid question or a question that nobody's ever asked you before. How much of the ice surface itself, the playing surface, impacts the goalie ever? Does a choppy ice, does that impact the way you have to react? Does a really good sheet of ice, does that benefit the skaters? I never thought about this because it seems that a goalie, you're only utilizing so much of it. But I wonder if it ever crosses your mind or if it ever plays into you.
I don't think that so much. Like when players and after one, oh, that ice is terrible. I don't really notice that stuff.
Right.
So like, I honestly feel like that kind of credits the goalie a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah. So like, if there's like Olympic ice or like bigger ice surfaces compared to smaller, that might change like the positioning of a goalie or anything like that. That's the only time that like that would really affect it or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as for that, I wouldn't say anything about that. Yeah.
Have you ever like checked into a goal crease and just been mortified by what you've seen there in terms of the ice conditions?
Actually, when we played Watertown, yeah, no, it wasn't anything about like that stuff, but like it was going into the second period. And I guess Billy watched the replay later and he told me what happened, but there was a player that like did like a C cut, huge, like in my crease in the second period. And there was like a 10-minute delay because I just called the ref over and I'm just like, I can't play like this. Like there's like a Riviera in there, like just like a huge like valley, right? Jesus. So then they had to like fix the ice and stuff, but it was really like one of the Watertown players that like C cut it around the crease, which is crazy. Jeez. That would affect me, but
yeah. And then, I kind of wanted to ask, we're still somewhat early into the season, a few months in now. What's it been like for you? How have the fans kind of been, to your new start here?
I think the biggest thing where I'm like, yep, this is a great spot was when I played that first game against Bengal. And we scored that first goal, and like hearing the fans erupt, I was not expecting that. Like the loudness and like the chants and everything like that. I'm like, this is a great place. This is a cool place to play. So the fans have been great. They even go up to me afterwards and they're like, yeah, we kind of talked to you and like in between like the commercial breaks and stuff like that. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, go for it and stuff. And like they just make you feel very welcoming. And so.
We often ask the Canadian guys that come on the show if, we're stupid. We don't even know. Like I said, the Canadian culture is pretty foreign to us. But it's like, do you go to did you go to senior hockey growing up? Like, did you see any of that kind of thing around you? And, what do you compare Danbury's crowds to like anything you see in Canada? Even in the juniors?
Yeah, I would compare it. I don't know. I feel like if we had a bigger rink and like bigger stands and stuff like that, it would be crazy. But like when you see it, you kind of think of junior, but like when you hear the fans, it's definitely not junior and it's definitely not anything I've experienced before, right? So it's pretty cool, but yeah.
At a school like Acadia, how many students came to the hockey games?
We would get it depended on the day. So like sometimes we'd have like a Wednesday home game and like students are like studying or they don't want to go out or anything like that. But like we could get like 2,000 average kind of thing. Like it's a very nice rink and stuff. So
that's pretty cool, right?
2,000. So that's what I kind of said. It was kind of like a B because like not a lot of schools had that, especially in our league too. Like we really lucked out of that school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What since you've been in the league and you guys have had some ups and downs so far this season, what's been something that's been comforting to you?
I feel like this team is very close, I find, and just like even from day one, I feel like I could go up to a lot of these guys and like talk about something or like figure something out, and like we're very close in that sense. So it's very comforting to know that like you can lean on somebody, right? And like even if like something happened or anything like that, I could go to like one of the guys and like talk to them and like talk it out. So yeah, I don't know.
I kind of just think that that might be the biggest strength here in Danbury is that I think that oftentimes, especially the last, I haven't gotten to meet all the new guys this season yet, and as we continue to do the show, we hope we can get more and more of you to come in. But, I think last season was a tremendously tight group that was tight-knit with, and the result honestly showed. And I think if we continue to harness that type of environment, we're going to have good players. I don't know if the world knows this yet, but Johnny McDonald has allegedly been called up somewhere. Do you know where it is?
No, I didn't get to see anything on the transaction or anything like that. I only just got the word from him. So
yeah, so he won't be with us at least for the immediate future, and for his sake, I hope we don't see him again for the rest of the season. I hope he stays up there.
Yeah, I did tell him that last night too.
I hope I don't see him again. But being, like you said, being out of college and you have that 4-year commitment from guys, and usually, even some of the guys, if they don't pan out as good, they usually stick to that commitment. How is it for a goalie when the defensive pairs change often and stuff like that? Did you have that in college where, there'd be rotating cast kind of guys in front of you? Are you a goalie that talks to the D-man or?
I feel like that's actually one of my strengths where, like, a lot of goalies, they talk, but, like, I don't shut up, basically. Right. So, like, whether it's, like, down in their end, down in our end, I'm always saying, like, do a play. Just even if they don't even do it, it's just an option in their head kind of thing where they look up and they're like, oh, D, or like, oh, I got to rim it or something like that, right? So, like, I don't really shut up, and I think communication is, like, huge for any team, for any play and stuff. And as for, like, rotating D, that's kind of like what happens. We don't really have it at Acadia because you're locked in with those guys, but like here we do still have that core group of guys that we have, and like, J-Mac is out, but I think Yao's back in, and like he's a huge addition. X came back, right? And like we're on a good page so far. So
a lot of goalies, we've had some great goalies pass through Danbury, obviously. Brian Wilson and Mike Brown back in the day, and obviously
Dylan Kelly
Kelly we just interviewed. But like another guy like Nick Niedert, for example, Nick was a really long shot in his career. He got cut in high school. Like, I think he got cut from the JV team in high school, I think twice.
Wow. And
ended up like playing as a junior and then going to juniors as a senior or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But how often in those, you played junior hockey, it looks like you played a substantial amount, good enough amount, but then you go on this 3-year run where you're going to school, you're probably seeing teammates and guys within your division or whatever, probably seeing guys drop out and get jobs, low-end jobs in Europe and all that other stuff. How much of that played into your mind? Were you ever the type of guy that was just kind of like, I could probably just be finishing school, actually playing a lot on a senior team or going down to the Fed and getting that opportunity? Was there ever a time where you were just like, hey, I might as well go check this out?
I think like one of the first couple of days when I was at Acadia and I'm like tying up the skates and I'm looking at like bags like from each player that are just arriving, and like they've been to NHL camps. So like I saw like Ottawa Senators bags, like Vancouver, and then I'm just tying up my lace. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here, kind of thing, right? And at first I was like, I'm happy to be here, but I don't think I belong. But then like those first couple of practices, I put my head down, I'm stopping those pucks and stuff like that. And I earned the trust of like a lot of the guys already, that they were just like, no, you can play here, just be patient with it. And then, so obviously it was tough for 3 years not playing. But like at my last year when I got the MVP of Acadia, like hockey, the coach had nothing but great things to say to me. He was just like, I don't know where this guy came from and stuff like that. And like, like it's been a roller coaster at
Good
Acadia,
feeling.
but I'm so happy that I did it and I was patient with it.
I think that's an important message, and I think we see that in a lot of guys. I still think that we're in such a big transition period, especially here in America with college hockey. This is a time of tremendous change. There are D1 schools popping up that they were club teams last year. There are D3 schools opening up, and there are there's a lot more opportunity than there ever was. But I think it's really important, especially we've seen that in the Fed for years. We've seen guys who went to college for a year, just didn't get that chance to play at all, and they said, what am I doing here? My parents paid $25,000 for this. And in some ways, I think that's kind of how it works a little bit in Canada, but I think mostly in other foreign countries where the two aren't as so connected. So like a guy last year, perfect example, Igor Borshev, who won the Commissioner's Cup with the hat tricks last year, he was going to Bentley online while he was playing for Bentley University in Boston, online while he was playing for the hat tricks. So with all the technology and everything, a guy doesn't necessarily have to get caught in that alphabet soup of NCAA 1, 3, ACHE. The guy can go to school online and play in the Fed probably for a long time. Ryan Patch was one of those guys. I think he went to a college somewhere, didn't work out, like didn't get in a game at all, or just played one season, and then he had a great career in Danbury here. So I just think that there's also perseverance. You know what I mean? Like, you think about it, it probably would have been hard for a goalie to quit because you didn't even have any tape. You couldn't even go show yourself playing in a game.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough transition for sure, and so far. I think when we see that happen, we usually do get a good player out of it. I mean, even Luke Richards. You know, I don't think he got into a game at Stonehill before he came to the hat tricks a year. Like, I don't think he got into a game, but it was one of those COVID year things. But he kind of went to the Fed. He had a pretty good run. I don't think anybody's picked him up, huh? Luke Richards?
I don't believe so. No, I think he's still
on the shelf.
Yeah,
interesting. What do you like to do off the ice, Connor? How do you fill your time here in Danbury when you're trying to separate from hockey a little?
I love just as much as I can. Like, if there was community work to be done, like, I love doing that. Like I just said, I got an education degree, so when we got the chance to go to the school today and like go to the school, play road hockey with those kids, it was a great opportunity. So like, whenever I need a chance to like do a community work or anything like that, I'm always jumping on that. If not, I'm roommates with Stojewski, and we're usually like watching movies, hanging out.
Was that at the Wilton Y you guys went to today? You go to the YMCA today?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And it was a good group of kids, that's for sure. So it was pretty fun.
So it looks like I see, a few guys. It said, I mean, the picture's a little blurry. I can't see everybody who's there, but I see Zach.
Yeah.
See you.
Bedard.
Yep, I see Bedard there.
Yeah, and then Cunningham, too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And Stoge, yeah.
Yes.
I have to ask you about Saturday's performance, man. I mean, that was a hell of a game to play, that night. I mean, kind of tell us what it was like from your perspective going through that whole game.
It's challenging a little bit now because like we seem to be always running into the hot goalies now because that other goalie played really good, and then I come down and there's a 2-on-1 or a breakaway, and I'm like, okay, my turn kind of thing, right? So it's fun to play, and like obviously when you're home it's even more fun, right? It's interesting. I was saying that like a lot of the games at home seem to be going to OT and shootouts. And it's tough for the standings, but it's great for the fans because they're really cool games, right? But
we have some great Saturday night games, and just like you said, they're not always the type of game. But we want like a good 5-2 win, on a Saturday night. You don't really want to go to OT and lose a point, but I think that's the way the cookie crumbles. Is your family like within striking distance of Watertown to come to a game, or
they've been to a few, and they're talking about it a lot. It's kind of like it's like 2 hours from Kingston, like where I'm from, and then Kingston's just like right across, like
Kingston, Ontario is right there. Yeah. Okay.
So it's not too bad, and they've already been talking and like looking at the schedule against Watertowns and stuff like that, and they'll be down. Yeah, like in Stoge, my roommate too. He's had his parents come down too, and they've been in communication. So yeah, it's pretty close. So that's pretty nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Somebody's parents got their car towed a couple of weeks ago. That was sad.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I'm not sure who it was, and I don't know if it was somebody on the other team, but I'm pretty sure it was somebody on our team that they went right into that lot where it says "Don't park."
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's trouble, that lot over there.
Good.
Jeez. To kind of get off of that, I wanted to ask, I know in the beginning, obviously a lot of growing pains with the roster kind of consistently changing, but I kind of noticed the other night, you guys are starting to gel more. Do you kind of agree with that, or do you have your own take on that?
Yeah, and like I feel like we kind of have a good feeling about like what our team is kind of like the core like is starting to look like, and like it's nice that like we are winning, we are kind of like we win a few games and stuff like that, and we're like doing some team bonding stuff, and like it's kind of nice that like we're slowly like figuring things out, and yeah.
And then, this weekend it's going to be a rough one, with one at Binghamton, one at Elmira. What is it like for you in terms of prep? I mean, that can't be easy just going from place to place like that overnight with, hotels and all that.
It's hockey, though. It's pro hockey. And honestly, like, Bingo has a great rink. They have a great fan. So, like, I know they're in first place, but it's one of, like, those places that I love to play anyway, because, like, that's the team that you want to play. That's the building you want to play in, kind of thing. So, like, it's kind of exciting for that stuff. And then Elmira, like, it's still a very nice rink, and I actually have a buddy there who I was living with in Huntsville too, so it's going to be enjoying to see him and joke around with him. But he's the big boy on the team, so he's definitely going to be in my crease a little bit. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I always just have fun at these games.
Yeah, it's got to be something. I've said it before, and it is a great time up in Binghamton. They do have a fantastic rink. I'm sure there's, I can't get in trouble for saying. I'm sure there's some under the table money being made in that giant rink where the buy one get one beer is cash only. But hey, you know what I mean. Listen, I got to be honest. I'm all for it if that's what they're doing. Let me ask you something. When you're kind of on the ice now. I know goalies have a lot of superstitions, and maybe not even superstitions. I hear everything. I even hear it from defensemen, breathing exercises and all this stuff. How much of that kind of non-traditional technique goes into your game?
I do have a certain routine kind of thing. I don't like it's definitely a superstition, but it feels more like a routine for it. And it doesn't really start until I actually get to the rink. Like I know a lot of goalies where like as soon as they wake up, they got to do this, and like. But it's like when I get to the rink, I like to do a little like visualization on the like behind the ice, behind the net, and like see all that stuff. And then I go to like juggle, listen to some music, and like get the eyes going, get the hands going and stuff, and then stretch, and then like it's superstition, but it's not really kind of thing. But yeah,
no, it's interesting to hear. Everybody has something, Xavier Abdella, he's got his golf ball that he dangles with in the hallways of the rink, and looks like Zorro out there chasing after it. It really, it's interesting to see what different goalies have kind of different superstitions. I know that, we had one goalie that when the fans during the playoffs, the fans wait in Liberty rink while the players walk out. And I know there was one goalie that didn't like being touched, and there was just a lot of different things that happened. So it's kind of interesting to always hear the different kind of goalie things. Do you put like one skate on one side at a time, or?
I feel like I do, but I don't even notice, to be honest. And I feel like if you ask any player, they do the same thing, but they don't notice either.
You guys ever see who? Well, there's one of Crosby, but there's also one of another guy. It's a goalie. I can't think of who it is, but he does the same exact warm up. There's one of Crosby.
Oh, Lundqvist. I think it was Lundqvist.
I think it was Lundqvist. Right?
Yeah,
It's
and
a
they
bunch
did the
of pucks
identical
at the end.
one. Yeah,
it's like from 3 different games, and they're playing the videos alongside it. It's amazing. Yeah. And I feel like the guys have plenty of time to warm up here, so I'm sure some guys do the same thing over and over. I'm sure Johnny Ruiz does some type of ritual.
He has a spot, and like usually that like to stretch, and that's usually kind of my spot where I was at Acadia. So then he always just gives me the stare down. I do a little slide to the left, then he joins me, kind of thing.
That's funny.
That's kind of a ritual now too, so it's pretty cool. But
yeah,
he's always had that, and then when the photographers are there, he'll always skate right there and just snow.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Before we let you go, what do you do kind of in the off season? Like, just for example, what did you do in preparation for going to the camps this summer? Like, do you work and train somewhere specific, or work at a hockey school?
Yeah, I work out. I work out at the Acadia complex that we have. We have our own kind of gym right beside our dressing room. We just got a new goalie coach like my year that I was playing, and I think that was a huge help to get me to where I was and stuff like that. He was a very like motivational, very keep you confident kind of person. So he seemed to find some ice, and he's always texting me over the summer, and we always skated and stuff. So he was a large help for me to get to where I am right now, basically. So yeah.
Yeah. Then one last thing. Anything you want to tell the fans going into this road game series?
We're gonna get these points hopefully, and yeah, we're going to miss you guys too as well. Like I was telling you, I thought we were playing Saturday. I'm so disappointed. I knew who we were playing, but I didn't know we were on the road for the Saturday game, and I'm really upset that I'm not going to see my fans this weekend. So.
We haven't had a goalie in, and definitely not a guy who's been doing the majority of the work. We haven't had a goalie in since that schedule kind of shift over where we're not really averaging even one home game a weekend. I mean, we had one home game last weekend.
Yes.
None this weekend.
No. And then we'll have 2 next week.
And then we had 2 against We had two against Detroit, and then the end of the season. Who are we playing? End of the month. Who we're playing?
We're playing Port Huron next week. So
I think if you look at the bigger schedule too, I think we have a whole bunch of home games in January.
I believe.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. I have that marked in my calendar.
Yeah.
No, it's really brutal. I mean, just for the goalie, I know we touched on it a little bit before, but how does it work in Canadian college hockey? You play the same opponents 2 nights on the weekend?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a similar schedule where you have like maybe a random Wednesday, but like it's not a very good thing to see when you're a student athlete and you're got to play on a Wednesday, go to 5 hours away to PEI or something like that. But it's usually like we had like a away game Friday, home game Saturday or something like that. Never a game on Sunday. It's usually those Friday, Saturday games.
When you go to Prince Edward Island, right, that's a bus trip?
Yeah, they're all bus trips.
Wow.
So I think the farthest one would be that, like 5 hours.
5 hours, yeah.
Not too bad. Yeah.
And you stay the night and everything, I guess.
No, we come back. So we get back at like 2.
And then you drive back the next day?
That's what I'm saying. It's terrible when you do that for a Wednesday and then you have like an 8:30
at a
class
or
something like that.
So wait, so you would play on a Friday in Prince Edward Island, come home, and then go back?
No, we would probably have a home game or something like that.
Oh, I
so
see.
we'd have like a sleep in, touch the door at 11 or something like that, and have a quick nap again, and then be ready for the next game.
Wow.
But, yeah.
So you never spend the night?
Not really. Not normally, no. And we would spend a night if like it was a 2 back-to-backer, like if we were like against Moncton and then we go to UNB.
I'm sure you spent the night when you played BU, right?
Yeah, so we would stay those nights kind of thing. And then
similar to the juniors here, at least the NA3 juniors don't ever stay.
No, they drive back.
Yeah, that's
wild.
It's a rip, man. I don't know how they do it. It's really it sounds crazy, but like we're going to Danielle and I are going to a concert on Saturday night in New Haven. Some dudes from Long Island that I know, and like I'm kind of on the fence if we're gonna get a little hotel room up there. What's the point of driving back? Like I'm gonna spend so much time. You know, you're not gonna be able to have a few drinks or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's not like it's so far. It's less than an hour away, but I mean, it's enough of a pain. You know what I mean?
No,
like
it's another little inconvenience type deal.
We stayed at that crazy hotel that it's the first zero emissions hotel in the world.
Was this the one after 311 that I?
Yes.
Okay.
What the hell was the name of that place?
I forgot, but I know that area. That was a nice.
That was a nice place, man. They had the I mean, like nothing compared to the Ramada in Elmira, New York. but you guys don't even make that overnight anymore. You guys are gonna stay but you guys are gonna stay in Bingo. I tell you one thing: those Saturday nights in Bingo are going to be a lot more fun than the Friday night games. I'll tell you that much. If you guys win, you get to go out up there.
Oh yeah.
But what was the name of it?
The Hotel Marcel?
Hotel Marcel. Yeah, and it was like the electric controlled like window shades and stuff. It would go, and there's a beautiful sight lines. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of funny. Like it's when I hear that they're going to New Hampshire and they're driving back on the same day, I'm like, damn, man, that just sounds brutal, you know. But yeah, like, listen, this is and I tell people all the time, as messed up as it sounds, you know, I was talking to Dave McIsaac about that when they were in the AHL, and he was with, I guess he was primarily with Philadelphia, you know, or the Phantoms.
Yeah.
He really said they didn't really spend too many overnights. He's like, there's a couple places we did once in a while overnight. I think like if the weather was bad, you know, they would like if it was looked like they were going to drive into a blizzard, that was one thing. But like, I you know, that was the way this league was set up. This league was set up to be like a Northeast regional league between upstate New York, New York City, I mean, they always tried to get it going in New England. They could never really, Cape Cod didn't really work, and Berkshire was like a Delaware situation kind of. So so the travel, the way they have it now, is the way they wanted it. They don't want to do these overnights for. I mean, I can only imagine what the hotel room bill is. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, we made all those trips, me and you. We have no idea. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how much it cost us to stay in Carolina. I felt like we were there for a week.
It did feel like a long time.
We were literally there for like a week because we left on what day? Wednesday?
Yeah, and it was like a 10-hour drive. We
didn't play until Friday, right? So we
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
we left on Wednesday. We didn't play until Friday, and we didn't go home until Saturday night, right?
After the game.
At 1 in the morning. How many trips to, this is what this young man has to look forward to.
Yeah.
How many trips to, but forget the barbecue places. What's, to Sheets.
Oh, to Sheets.
Yeah, man. The
Sheets.
stops at Sheets, man. Those were just so essential. We're driving along in the middle of nowhere, but, like every half hour I was craving a mini pizza, Tabasco Slim Jim, and a Coke. Or actually a Pepsi.
That's some mott sticks, too. They have good mott sticks.
Yeah.
Money.
I mean, that was really. But I mean, I think that anything that you do, there's a great documentary that every Hat Tricks fan should see. It's called Les Chiefs. I don't know if you know it.
No.
It's a fantastic documentary that came out. It was about, before they called it the LNAH, they called it the Quebec Senior Pro Hockey League. And, it was about this championship season for the Laval Chiefs. And there's this crazy character in the movie. Again, it's a fantastic, fantastic hockey movie. I think if you go on YouTube, this is a cheat code for everybody. There's a long movie where the Hanson brothers are like the saved image of the video. It says real life Slapshot movie. That's Les Chiefs. It's not Slapshot. It's if you could probably pull it up right now. It's not Slapshot. I had a link to it like around COVID, but I can tell you this. The guy says, any day playing hockey on a hockey team. That's the thing about it. It's like I think that's one of the things that not only for the player, that's it right there.
Yeah, top 1 hour.
Yeah, so
Look it up after.
yeah, it's a great watch for you guys, and you could probably get it on Amazon for crispy copy. But what I was going to say to you is he says something about playing hockey on a hockey team is easy. Being in a war zone is tough, and I honestly think that a lot of the times the players really do appreciate it, really do appreciate being on a hockey team, and that is something that the fans here in Danbury, I really do believe have kind of caught on to and embraced. Like I think that you have the people with the Booster Club, Lisa and Roger Stalker, and obviously our good friend Ed Lockwood and Patricia and Jim Hutchison and Bonnie and Mike Dowler, and I mean the list, Charlene, all the people who contribute to the players' success here. I think that the fact that the players are so grateful, I think that they recognize that. I think that's so some guys are a little better at showing it than others, but I think that's one of the things, and that's why. Like even when you play on a crappy beer league team where everybody has a mismatched jersey and the refs are just blind and stuff like that, I think that even that for those guys, it's one of the best parts of their lives, and I'm sure you experience that as a pro player, just the camaraderie of being on a team is, and Pat's getting on his skates a little too. He's been getting out there with the Danbury E League. Well, he's going to get on in the next game.
The next game that they'll have will probably be there. So.
I think we need a video of this. I think we need Brody True to come down and video. That would be unbelievable. To video Patty on the ice.
Yeah, it'd be like 4K of me falling like 20 times.
No.
I think Dowler Garage would sponsor that video. I honestly believe he would if we call him up. Definitely the Peach Wave. Maybe they'll split it. It'll be a collaboration.
Yeah.
But
either way, I mean, Fantastic episode, Connor.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for
in.
coming, man.
Thank you
Really
for having me.
appreciate it.
Seriously,
Nice
this
to
is
have a
awesome.
real Canadian on the show.
hey.
You know? Eh?
And best of luck to you this
I
weekend.
really appreciate it. Thanks, boys.